Hello everyone and welcome to SuttonsDaze. Today I'm doing a video response to a blog post that Darcy from the Purposeful Pantry did. We ran across this, thought it was a great idea. Mirepoix. Mirepoix is essentially onions, celery, and carrots, okay? And it's the basis for a lot of really great cooked meals. You take those and you cook them up in the pan and they make a really great flavor to add to different projects. Anyway, so it's not something I want to can. Number one, onions degrade the longer they sit in a jar, okay? And I discovered that I don't care for that because when I normally can for a very long time. I don't can every week because I have nothing better to do. I can to stock my pantry for not a long term, but not an immediate use, okay? So for at least a year, sometimes two, that's what I like to can for. And canning onions that way, they degrade in the water, and I really don't like the end product if you go longer than like 3 months. And canning onions for 3 months doesn't make sense for our lifestyle. So we are doing Mirepoix powder. Shut the front door. Yes, really. Mirepoix powder. So Darcy did a blog post. I'm probably going to do it maybe a little bit different than she does. I haven't read the blog post yet. But I thought I would bring you guys along to show you how we do this. Now, I will say, I'm not canning onions right now. For those of you in the Facebook group or possibly on my page, you saw that I was gifted a bunch of onions from a friend. They were all like this size. I dehydrated 5 of them, and this is what I ended up with. Ooh, yeah, look at all that dehydrated onion. Yummy, yummy goodness. So what I'm going to do today is dehydrate the celery and the carrots, and then we will get to Mirepoix powder. Ready? Let's go. Start off with, I have some of these. So I'm going to dehydrate 1 bag of these. I already have some that are done, but for the purpose of this video, I will show you guys what I'm doing. Probably easier with the bigger carrots, but I had a project for the smaller carrots, so when I picked them up, I just picked up multiple bags. So you can dehydrate these whole, absolutely. It takes a little bit longer, but you can do it. So I am going to chop up all of the ones in this bag, and then I'm going to put them all in the strainer. I'm going to give them a good solid rinse. Okay, so next we're going to start on the celery, okay? And you can keep this, try to regrow it if you want, or you can cut it up and put it in your freezer for soup base. Now, you're just going to get a cutting board, Lise, and you're going to chop this up, leaf and all, okay? All of it. Don't waste any of your celery. Okay, and you're just going to chop those up into pieces and then move them over. Now remember, we are going to give this a very solid, good rinse before. You don't have to blanch these things before you put them in the dehydrator, which is awesome. Awesome. The fewer the steps, the better in my mind, you know, but okay. So we're going to make sure to get all the leaves and everything because that all has flavor and it's all good. And this is really great if you're not getting to your celery fast enough. Dehydrate it. Stick it in your dehydrator, and you can turn it into celery powder. You can use it as dehydrated celery for whatever you're going to do. It's really, really good stuff. Okay, so now we are going to turn on the water, and we're going to give this a really good rinse. Really get it in there, move it around. I'll get all that done, and then we'll come back and put it on the sheet. For the record, I thought about this as I was washing it. You can do these separately, and you may want to for measurement's sake. I'm going to refer you over to Darcy's blog post for the measurements on how to do this if you want more specific measurements. I'm kind of eyeballing it and just going for the gusto, you guys. Okay, so I've got them on the trays, okay? And you want to try to make them as flat as you can. You don't want them stacked up. You know, that air needs to get around them. But honestly, don't freak out about it, okay? Some of them are going to be stacked. You could spend hours doing this. So next we're going to set the dehydrator at 125 degrees and we're going to let her run. And I will keep track of the time. Your time will vary depending on the size of your chopped up veggies, you know, but we're going to let this run and I'll let you know how long it took. Okay, so it has been 7.5 hours. And here we are. I checked them, I don't know, a couple hours ago, and some of the celery was still a little pliable. So here we go. Okay, so I'm gonna let these cool down. I'm gonna put them into some jars, and then we'll measure these out for the Mirepoix powder. That whole little bag of the little carrots, and I think it was a 1 pound bag, and then a whole bunch of celery. And it comes down to less than a pint jar when dehydrated. That is just crazy cool, isn't it? So next we are going to double this amount. So according to Darcy's calculations, I think she did a 1/4 cup of celery, a 1/4 cup of carrots, and then a 1/2 cup of onions. So I'm going to measure this out, measure out double the amount in onions, and then we're going to get those all ground up. So everything's dehydrated, and I took the extra carrots and celery that I had dehydrated previously, and I think I mentioned it. Some of them I did whole. That was, I think, last week. But, so I combined all of those, the celery and the carrots, and I've got 3 cups of that. And so, based on that, I did 6 cups of dehydrated onions. And it just so happens that that was all of the onions from those 5 onions. It made 6 cups of dehydrated onions. So now we are going to start working on getting it ground up. I am going to be using my Ninja. Let me turn you around here. So in order to pull this off, in order to get the fine powder that I want, I'm going to do it in this attachment. It does a much better job. So first, I'm not going to be able to do it all at once. Canning equipment is not just for canning. Okay, so first, I'm going to put in my 3 cups of celery and carrots. Okay. Screw that on nice and tight. Grind it down to a powder. Okay, so I put it on puree, and it beats it down into a very nice powder. There we go. So what was full now comes up to, it says 8 ounces. So now I'm going to pour this back into the measuring cup, because it's going to take me 2 rounds to work in the onions, because it only holds so much. To show you, that's the powder. It grinds up beautifully. You can use your blender, you can use your food processor. If you have a Vitamix, of course, that will do a fantastic job. Use what you got. Okay, so I'm going to stop it right there since it broke it down pretty quickly. And I'm going to add the last bit of the dehydrated onions. There we go. Smells so good. Phil even said when I was dehydrating the celery yesterday, he's like, oh, it smells like Thanksgiving. So just like that. There we go. So that took that down to just over 8 ounces. And so now I'm going to add back the celery and carrot mixture. And we're going to get it all mixed up. There we go. Okay. Now, what I did not know, but I learned from Darcy, is that when you're grinding it up like this, it creates a heat and a friction, and I can actually feel some of the heat. So it creates a heat and a friction. So there you go. That's what it looks like. I'll get it into a jar so that you can see it better. But you're going to want to pay attention to it, because by creating that heat, it could create a moisture, and that is what you do not want. If you have those older vintage jars that you just love and you don't want to can in them, then the dehydrated powders, you didn't see that. Let me bring it up. That's what it did. Okay. So I'm going to break it up so that it falls down in. Let me grab something here. Okay. Okay. So that, it turned into one heck of a powder. Yes, it did. And this jar might be just a little small. But let me see here. Okay. So I have a little bit left to put into another jar. But can you see that? Oh, see? It's got space left in there. So it will clump up a bit. So you want to make sure you let it cool down and check it to make sure that there's no moisture in it. Even though I'm very confident that these are completely dry, onion powder has this tendency towards solidifying. So I'm going to take this particular jar and I'm going to vacuum seal it for our extended pantry, and the little bit that's left that I put back into the mixing bowl, I will put into a smaller jar, and that's what we'll use until I can break into this. So that is the Mirepoix powder. A really great addition, space saver. You don't have to, you know, if you're running into issues where you're wasting something, or you feel like you're wasting something, this will definitely take care of that. Throw it in your dehydrator, dehydrate it up, save it till you have enough, grind it into a powder to add to your everyday cooking. I am very much looking forward to using this. So I hope to show that to you guys in the very near future. While I'm waiting for my food saver to charge, I thought I would also mention that typically, depending on what you're cooking, you know, how much you like the flavor, you would use a teaspoon, maybe two, anytime that you make this up. I think it would be epic if you melt your butter in the pan and add this to it, and then add whatever else you're cooking. Oh, what a great flavor. Okay, so this is my video response to Darcy at the Purposeful Pantry's blog post. And I hope you guys will go check it out. She is the dehydrating queen. And until next time, please be safe.